The Red Dress Case, Chapter 7, Knives in the Rain. The Packard idled at the curb, engine purring like a panther ready to spring. Headlights stayed off, but I felt their eyes cutting through the dark. My fingers itched against the colt, but I kept it cool. The rain fell harder, painting the alley in silver knives. The door creaked open, and a man stepped out slow, sharp suit soaking under the storm. He carried himself like he owned the street, every step heavy with power. His fedora brim shadowed his eyes, but I already knew the type. This was no errand boy, this was a man with pull. "Evening, Morgan," he said, voice smooth as glass over broken bottles. "You've been making the wrong friends." He lit a cigar, flame glowing against the rain. The smoke curled up, sweet and deadly. I stayed planted, shoulders squared, smoke from my lucky mixing with his. "Maybe," I said, "but at least mine buy me drinks." His smile cracked, thin and dangerous. This wasn't conversation, this was a warning dressed, polite. The Packard's back door opened, and another shadow stepped out. This one carried a bulge under his coat the size of a small war. He leaned close to his boss, whispering low. Their eyes cut back to me sharp. Before the tension snapped, tires screeched at the far end of the alley. Headlights cut through the rain, siren wailing faint behind. A squad car, city blue, barreled in like it had something to prove. The mob boys stiffened, cigars and bravado dropping quick. "Cops," the boss spat, flicking his cigar to the puddles. He slid back into the Packard with a curse. "Another night, Morgan, don't get too comfortable." The car roared off, taillights bleeding red through the storm. I didn't holster the Colt until the Packard was nothing but smoke and water. The squad car skidded to a stop, lights painting the bricks wild. 2 uniforms jumped out, batons swinging like they were born in their fists. Chicago law didn't ask questions, it hit first. "Hold it," Morgan, one barked, water dripping from his cap. "You're coming with us." His partner circled wide, hand close to his piece. They weren't here to protect, they were here to deliver. I kept my hands visible, smoke curling steady from my cigarette. "Funny," I said. "I thought you boys only worked day shifts." The bigger one sneered, showing teeth. "We work whenever the money says." They closed in, cuffs glinting under the lamplight. My gut screamed to run, but I wasn't built for sprinting in wet shoes. Instead, I leaned back against the bricks, letting them think they had me. Sometimes you let the sharks bite just to see who's tugging the line. One cop slapped cuffs on, metal cold against my wrist. His grip was rough, too eager, like a man proving something. The other shoved me toward the squad car, rain dripping off his jaw. My cigarette fell and hissed in the puddle. They tossed me into the back seat, doors slamming like prison gates. The smell inside was stale, tobacco and sweat, a rolling confession box. I watched the city blur through rain-smeared glass. Chicago never looked so ugly as it did behind bars. We rode in silence, tires hissing on wet pavement. The streets blurred, neon smeared like blood across the windshield. The driver's jaw twitched, nerves hiding under duty. The passenger kept glancing back at me, like a dog watching a steak. Finally, he spoke. "Boss wants words. You'll listen, or you'll wish you had." His smile was thin as a razor blade. I leaned back, rain drumming steady overhead. They turned off state, rolling into darker streets where the lamps burned weak. Warehouses loomed, shadows stretching long like graves. The car slowed, then stopped by a loading dock. This wasn't a precinct, this was a setup. The cuffs came off, but not kindly. The big one shoved me forward, his baton kissing my ribs. I stumbled into the wet alley, hands free, but body boxed in. Somewhere nearby, jazz bled faint from a window, like the city was laughing. A door banged open, and more shadows spilled out. Suits, fedoras, the whole pinstripe parade. The mob had left. They'd just called in the cops to deliver me gift wrapped. That explained the urgency. The boss from the Packard stepped out again, cigar lit fresh. His smile was wide now, knowing the game was rigged. "See, Morgan. City's easier when you stop pretending their sides. We own both." His men circled, guns bulging from coats. The cops hung back, arms folded, eyes avoiding mine. Bought and paid, every last one. Chicago law had a new badge, a $sign. "You're gonna keep poking around. You're gonna end up in the river," the boss said. Voice Cajore's ordering lunch. Rain beaded on his hat, dripping steady. His cigar smoke curled up like a halo of hell. I spat water, wiped my jaw, and stared him down. "If I'm poking, it's 'cause someone's squealing." Maybe it ain't me that needs war. In his eyes narrowed, smile cracking. I knew I'd hit a nerve. The circle tightened, footsteps splashing steady in the puddles. One thug cocked his piece, steel clicking loud in the night. The rain didn't care, it just kept falling, washing blood or whiskey the same. Then, like fate flipping a coin, a whistle cut sharp through the storm. Real uniforms this time, not the kind on payroll. Blue coats poured from the street, guns out, shouting orders. The alley turned to chaos in a heartbeat. Mobsters dove for cover, guns barking loud. Bullets sparked against brick, ricocheted down the alley like angry bees. I ducked, low, Colt out, smoke and fire filling my hands. Chicago was screaming again. The boss bolted for the Packard, shouting curses in Italian. His men scattered, spilling shots wild at the Blues. One of the crooked cops fell in the crossfire, blood painting his badge red. The other ran, loyalty dissolving quick. I put 2 slugs into a thug's leg, watched him crumple with a howl. My hat flew off, rain drenching my hair, but I kept firing. The Blues pressed forward, barking commands. The alley was a war zone, lit by lightning. Sirens wailed louder, backup closing in. The Packard screeched off, tires screaming, shadows inside, ducking low. The boss had slipped away, but not clean. His smoke lingered, promise of another round. I stood in the rain, Colt smoking, cuffs dangling from my wrists like jewelry. The Blues eyed me cautious, not sure if I was friend or fiend. I gave them nothing but silence, breath heavy, coat soaked. The city roared around us, uncaring. One thing was clear as the storm. This case wasn't about a red dress anymore. It was bigger, bloodier, a war spilling into the streets. And I was right in the middle, whether I liked it or not.